Hello, everybody. So thank you
Hello.
for being there with me. This is episode number 17 of The Art of Dubbing Shared Secrets. So we are going to share secrets today with these two beautiful girls, Valeria from Miami and Gina from Mexico. So can I ask you guys to introduce yourself quickly so our friends on the line have a good idea about who you are and where you are, and after we start talking.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Valeria Macias. I am currently the COO of Macias Group International, and I'm based here in our headquarters in Miami, Florida.
Miami.
I am Miami, Florida. I'm Gina Gallegos Macias. They know me as Gina Macias here in Mexico in the dubbing studio because of our family, but I'm based here in Mexico City, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Perfect. Thank you very much, guys. So this is a family business, and obviously, to be really transparent with everybody, we worked a lot together in my previous life when I was working for Warner Brothers. So we did a lot of projects together. So we already have a good relation, and so I remember that you guys are cousins, correct?
Correct.
And you have other members of the family in the team.
Yes. So actually, our other first cousin, Mar, who has already been on a couple of episodes here, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, he's also our cousin, and we formed the third generation of the group. So our grandfather started it in 1968, and we are still here 3 generations later.
Wow, and that's a very good remark, Valeria. Thank you for doing that because it shows that the dubbing business can be a long-term business and a sustainable business. And if I remember correctly, the Macias group started really in Mexico, not in Miami, correct?
That's correct. So it started in a little part of Mexico City, a small studio. And ever since then, we've been able to at least just in Mexico, expand into 2 larger locations. And then our current CEO from there was able to expand into Sao Paulo, Brazil, many years ago. And our headquarters were before they were based in Los Angeles. Now they're based in here in Miami. And over the past 10 years is really when we started venturing into the English dubbing of the world. So we've always been leaders of the Latin American Spanish dubbing and even Brazilian Portuguese dubbing, sorry. And now we are also in the American English dubbing.
And I remember very well the São Paulo facility that I visited a long time ago.
Yes, but now we have
Yeah.
new ones. We changed locations. We have really, revamped so much of it, and especially now with all the new requirements and high security that a lot of our clients they need. So we are always striving to, stay ahead of everything and make everything super secure and make our clients feel comfortable and they know that they trust their content with us.
And
Yeah.
this is a very good point because I was in Los Angeles last week. I visited a lot of clients with my boss, and we noticed that everybody was talking about security.
Yes.
So this was the main point for all the clients. Um, and I remind everybody, since we are there online, that sometime in the past I had issue with an actor filming himself in the studio and putting the content online before the release. So this is as a dubbing actor, we all have to be very transparent about where we are, what we do, and not starting to put on social media what we are doing in a recording studio. This is very dangerous.
Yeah.
So
Talking about this, we are following very strict security tools and protocols because they're super important in this time. Today, our studios we include 29 recording rooms, 8 mixing rooms, one mixing 7.1 Dolby certified and Atmos for broadcast mixing room. So of course we have to follow this strict security tools,
Absolutely.
and all obviously supported by the latest technology that we need. You know our studios here in Mexico,
Of course.
and you know our studios in Brazil, and of course in Miami. So we have to be very, very strict with this topic.
Great. So, very good introduction. So we know a little bit more about the Macias Group now. So let's talk about exactly what you guys are doing, because in Mexico, I think, let's start with Mexico because I think it's simpler in terms of language and region. So Gina, you are in Mexico. Which languages are you doing there? Only Latin Spanish or something else?
No, in Mexico, we just work with Latin American Spanish, and this is one of the best thing that we can do is for our clients. Like they like the fact that we dub their content in territory,
Yes.
and the workflow here in both studios, it's based in Latin American Spanish, and of course in Sao Paulo the Brazilian Portuguese, and in Miami the American English.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So regarding the Latin Spanish, obviously Mexico has always been a big territory for releasing movie, for TV series, etc. So is it still, because I'm a little bit out of contact with the dubbing for big theatrical now, but is the Mexican still the official neutral Spanish, or is it really connotated Mexican? Because neutral Spanish doesn't mean a lot. So explain a little bit the difference.
oh, it's because well, we have lots of accents in the Spanish language,
Of course.
and we have great actors and actresses that they are from Argentina or from Colombia or from
Chile.
Venezuela, yes, or the Spanish from Spain. There are a lot of accents. So the neutral Spanish, as we call Latin American Spanish, is the one that doesn't have any accent, and we can handle just one way to speak. So we have, I mentioned about some actors that if you are talking with them, you really know that they're from Venezuela.
Yeah.
And of course, when they're dubbing their projects, you can't hear their accent, and it's incredible. We have, well, one of the best example I can tell you. It's about RuPaul, the show, and the main character. You can hear him. He's awesome, and you can hear his accent. He just managed this neutral Spanish, and that's the way we work
So
in the industry.
yeah, so this is very interesting because actors have this ability to lose their local accent to get a neutral Spanish. Yeah, that reminds me same thing in Canada. When I was in Quebec, you know, the Quebec speak French with an accent, a Quebecois accent, if you want. And as soon as we are dubbing theatrical, they are losing their accent and speak practically like me, like a neutral French. So that's very interesting. So now, Valeria, your turn. So which languages are you doing in Miami? Because Miami is more an international platform than Mexico, correct?
Absolutely, but at the same time, just as we do in our studios in Brazil and in Mexico, we strictly just do neutral American English in our studios here in Miami. You know, Miami is a hub also for many,
Right.
you know, cultures, even, you know, Hispanic people in particular, and like that. But yeah, I mean, we have maybe some actors that are, you know, primarily like they're Hispanic or they're Brazilian and everything. But when they come into our studios, they know they have to come in and work on that neutral English, because the clients that we have so far, they really are very picky of, they don't want an accent. They don't want, you know, like a Hispanic accent. They don't want a French accent. You know, they want it to just be as neutral as possible, just like they do with the other dubbed content. So that's why we just work on that here as well.
Yeah, I was talking about that last week when I was in LA with some people, and we agreed that in fact the neutral English has been very influenced by Hollywood,
Yeah.
because most of the content we see in the in the States, not all, but a lot of it has been shot in Hollywood or in California. So in fact, the Californian accent is becoming the neutral American. So that's an interesting remark. So now, let's see a little bit, because you guys have this unique quality of doing really two different businesses. English dubbing, which for me it's still an emerging
Yeah.
market because it's new,
Mhm.
and Latin Spanish, which is more a historical market that, as you said, started a long time ago. So, how do you what's your feeling about the English dubbing? Do you see that it still has to mature? It's still very young. What's your feeling about this culture of dubbing in America?
Well, I think primarily like how you mentioned, maybe it's still a little bit of an emerging market because beforehand, everything that was consumed here in the United States and primarily was always like all the majority of the TV and cinematic movies have always been from Hollywood, right?
Correct.
So that's kind of what the consumers want. That's what the audience wants, correct? But I feel that ever since the streaming platforms have skyrocketed, they really brought in so much more content, international content, foreign content, that, you know, there's just so much more viewing opportunity. And I feel like nowadays, not to mention that there are audiences that don't want to just sit down and watch a fully, you know, subtitled show or movie. In particular, for example, if you're at home and you want to just have something on the background, maybe you're cooking dinner, maybe you're doing some chores, you know, you want to have the ability to follow along and hear the content and not have to sit down continuously like you do every time. And it could just be like a show that maybe you're watching a Netflix show and you're binging, and how we do it here in America. And then, but you see this really interesting foreign show and I really want to give this a try. You're more often putting into dubbing in English so that you can follow along if you have to go to the next room real quick, or if your child is, hey mom, this and this, and if you take your eyes off the TV screen and you're not reading the subtitles, you're going to miss something. But if
Yeah.
you're dubbed content, you're not going to miss it. You know, it's easier to follow along. So I feel like nowadays that is really where a lot of the dubbing in English opportunity is really, you know, like making a big difference.
And would you say that it's really because of the platform, the OTT platform, that the English dubbing started? Because I don't remember from my days in the major in Hollywood having done a lot of English dubbing.
Well, yeah, because that goes back to saying before, when it was mostly just cable, right?
Yeah,
Everything you saw on there was what? ABC, CBS, NBC, Warner, Cartoon Network, MTV, and all that was primarily done here. So it was already in English, right? And yes, of course, you had the maybe the movie platforms that, you know, maybe some foreign stuff, but you know, some people generally like watching foreign movies and content, or like listening to it uh, in that language and then just reading the subtitles. But I feel like I do believe that the platforms really facilitate a whole new section for English stuff, and primarily for American audiences.
Yeah, and at least you keep the original content, because I remember years ago when in America they were just redoing the movie, like Birdcage
Yes.
was a very famous movie in France, like Cage aux Folles, or another one was Three Men and a Coffin. Trois hommes et un couffin. That was a big comedy in France. They just redid the movie. So it's a little bit. I mean, it costs a lot of money to redo a movie, so obviously people would prefer to dub. It's interesting because also in a lot of countries, like all the Nordic countries, the English dubbing, which is going on, especially for the kids, was really an English teacher. The kids were watching the movies also in English and in their languages,
Yeah.
so they could learn English, and this is very good.
I will tell you that's how I started speaking English.
But
My parents would
perfect example.
watch English TV because I was born in Mexico. I was, Spanish is my first language. I didn't come into the U.S. until a little bit. So, well, still young, but that's exactly one of the tools that my parents used back then to start teaching us English.
And
for I'm sorry.
interesting. So, Gina, obviously
Yeah.
for you, there is no concept of emerging market, because the dubbing in Mexico started long time ago, correct?
Long time ago, and of course, not all the people have the fortune to learn English and speak in English, but right now almost everyone does. But it's supernatural to see our big shows in dubbed into Spanish.
Yeah.
When we were talking, Valeria and I, we remembered that once one of our major clients did a workshop with a group of women here in Mexico, and with our content dubbed into Spanish, of course. And this group of women, they were looking very interested in this novella, and of course, at the end of the workshop, they asked them, what do you think about the dubbing? Mm, which dubbing? They thought the content was in Spanish. So
Ah,
of course
interesting.
we are used to see our content in Spanish, and sometimes of course in these years we prefer to see the content dubbed than using the subtitles, because the women girls, we can do another thing and see, just
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
the language, you know?
yeah,
So it's interesting how the industry have moving forward in
yeah.
this topic.
And if I remember correctly, uh, Warner Brother had a lot of very, very old cartoons
Yes.
that they were broadcasting in Spain, coming from Mexico. And after they changed, and we started to do it in Spanish, in Castilian. But originally it was a lot of content was done in Mexico, which was the only Spanish they had. Very interesting. So now let's talk a little bit about the pool of actors. How complicated is it for you? But mainly, approximately, what's the pool of actors in Miami, and what the pool of actors in Mexico, in terms of sizes, to compare both?
Oh, in terms of sizes,
Yeah,
it's very different.
of
So
course.
for Miami, we have approximately 200 local and remote talent that we have been able to continuously work with. And I'll let Gina talk a little bit more about the Spanish talent, but for us, sometimes it's not so much about the difficulty of finding new talent. It's primarily finding the best way to find the availability of the actors when we have a fast turnaround project.
Yeah.
So, or maybe when it's just like for one retake and we're about to finish like delivering, and then, you know, we need to bring you in, but, you know, all the actors are free, so that we're used to having to, you know, they have various different dubbing houses that they have to go to in different projects. So sometimes it's not so much about finding new characters or new actors, it's about the availability
Correct.
of them. So
A- a-
I think since COVID, it really helped us reimagine how we did dubbing, because before it was just in studio, only in studio. But, you know, we had to think outside the box, and we had to find the right tools and the right equipment and the right software to help us with the remote dubbing. And I think that was something that was really big for us here in Miami, because even if we couldn't find certain local talent, and we're doing American neutral English here, but, you know, our clients sometimes they're like, oh, but I want star talent, or I want a very specific talent from LA, for example. Now we've been able to really reach out to them and have LA talent in our projects here in Miami as well. So
Correct.
for that, that's how we've been working. And I'll let Gina talk about the talent.
Yes, the biggest pool is in Mexico City, more than 600 actors and actresses. There are lots of talent here in Mexico, and of course, what Valeria talks about, it's not so difficult sometimes, but the ability is really important when we have this rush time. And of course, now we have been receiving also lots of new actors. They have been very interested learning about dubbing, and we have lots of actors from the theater, and they are looking to expand their tools, so they work in the dubbing industry right now, and they haven't done before. So
And
it's interesting.
that's very good. That's
Yes,
very
and
good, because these actors know acting, obviously,
of course.
and it's a transition for an actor to become a voice actor instead of actor. But most of the time they do it very well. So that's very good.
And this what you mentioned, we in one of our workshops about dubbing, we did have a group of actors that they just have been in the theater. So when they start learning how to do dubbing, the first lessons were like really difficult for them, because they just tell, I have been acting for all my life, and right now this is like a huge
Yeah.
work
Just
that is so difficult to do. No, yeah.
Well, because like every art, you need the creative aspect and the technical aspect of it. So
correct.
you could be a great actor, but if you don't know how to stand in front of a microphone, that's not going to help. But I remember very well that I suggested Valeria's father
Yeah.
long time ago open a dubbing school. I remember that now.
Yes.
This
No, and it was an amazing opportunity, and I can tell you, Jacques, that it's been an incredibly successful project that our team in Mexico has continued to do over the past, you know, few years, and that's primarily why we don't always have such difficulty finding new talent in Mexico City, because, you know, through these workshops, we're able to not only find new talent, but teach them the ways of dubbing, teach them throughout the workshop exactly how it is that we need to work with them, like what they need to do, like how they can perfect their performance. And, you know, knowing that they're going to come out of that workshop and they're going to have roles readily available for them, because we always have a lot of content to be done in Mexico City, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, even, and I'll let Gina attest to it, but it's great because even finding different age groups of the dubbing, you know, children actors, and then young adults and senior actors, and voices are continuously changing, in particular children's voices. So that's why these workshops really help, and they really help us continue bringing in new talent that then they're going to want to work with us. And of course, they're free to work anywhere else, but that's how we have found a really great way of helping our current actors and finding new ones as well.
Yeah,
And of
because
course,
this is, sorry, Gina, go ahead.
no, no, no. And of course, our clients always request new
Yeah.
voices.
I was
So
going to say
we
that.
we have
Absolutely.
to be always refreshing this pool of actors. Of course, we always include most of all of them, but the new voices that they're coming because they studied, and you were telling something super important about the acting part. It's not just about to learn about dubbing. They need to have this formation because it's super important, because they're actors. They're not just learning how to dub the
Yes, they're
content. So
actors, absolutely.
Yeah.
and in this part that you mentioned that you did, told Arturo and Valeria about the school, we started this project long time ago, I think 8 years ago or 7 years ago, and we started with a small group. And this generation, the first generation of the school, right now they really have the they're in all around the projects with the main characters, and some of them they're really good, and it's super nice to see that they were born in Macias. Of course, they yes, some of them,
That's great.
of course there are lots of them, but there this group, especially when I see them working right now in big shows, it's like remembering them when they started.
Yeah.
Or about the children, they have changed their voice.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
7 years ago, right now they are
Very good.
teenagers. They can be
Yeah.
in the same role. They have to change to the next one.
And I think this is so the message from what you are saying, guys. I think the main point is that clients, and I was one of the clients before, request new voices. So I think it's very important to explain to all our friends online that there is still work for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is new work coming which didn't exist 10, 15 years ago because of the platform, like we were talking about before. Before the Netflix, Amazon, Apple, we had only cable TV and home video and theatrical. Now you have a lot more work to dub. So I just want to say to everybody, don't be discouraged. You have a lot of people, but there is still work for everybody.
Yes.
So that's very important. And of course, for you, I guess the main point is to find the right balance between changing voices, but still giving them enough work so they can continue.
And of course, we have the honor of to work with all these senior actors that they have been in the industry for more than 50 years. It's an honor to have them in our tool of actors because their experience is the best
Of
we
course,
can handle. And like the teacher of the school is one
correct. It's a
of the
model.
best. Yeah, of course, she
And,
did have this experience for the new people, new generations.
and so for Valeria, obviously in Miami, it's not the same concept because you don't have people with 20 years
No.
of experience in dubbing. So what is the challenge? What is the main challenge in Miami to find more people? Because you don't have this old generation pushing the young ones?
Well, I mean, I will say that we do have quite a few that have been around in the industry long enough, you know. Maybe not like originally like just all English dubbing, some sort of dubbing in particular. So I think they have been really helpful throughout the whole process. But I feel at the same time that one of the greatest things that has helped us in general, like, and I can only speak for our studios, is that we came along and we started and we decided we were going to be dubbing. We were dubbing the way that we were dubbing in Mexico City, the way that we learned. We were dubbing the way that we did it in Sao Paulo. It's a little bit slower, a little bit more rigorous. We're more hands-on. You know, we really take care of the technical part of it. We take care of the director part of it. It's really like a whole project of getting in there. And, you know, we make
Yeah.
sure that our director knows exactly what's going on in the show, can portray and let the actor know this is what's happening. This is how you need to feel. I need to feel this. I mean, we're very hands-on. We don't just do like, you know, one line. Okay. You know, we really take care of the lip sync, the quality of the audio,
Yeah.
the presentation, the take, the intention of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like,
Yeah.
and because we did that the way that we do it in Mexico, it's been able to really be reflected in our work. And I think that's what helps us, you know, have the opportunity to work on the projects that we work on.
This is great, and I think it's going to take a few years for the English dubbing to mature, because it's still not in the culture of the country. But I think it's going to take maybe 5, 10 years, maybe 15 years. I don't know, to have like an historical culture of dubbing like Gina has in Mexico. America is still learning, but they're learning very, very fast, I would say.
And so,
Yes, Gina.
yeah, something that's super nice about this year, especially this year, that talking about new voices, we find new talent also in our diversity group. We have been working with an association to provide new talent, and we have been receiving this year lots of actors with this in this inclusive world. So it has been a new experience for us to work with them, because some of them, they know they are really actors. One has been, he just did one role in the last theatrical that we did, and he is incredible. And we have been working with them also with the LGBTQ plus community,
Yeah.
and they have been included in this shows also in our theatrical
Very interesting.
projects. So that's super nice.
Yeah.
That we one of our producers in Factory, she has pushed a lot this project, and we have been finding them all around Mexico City, and they come from Querétaro, some of them. So super nice this project also.
I remind everybody, when Gina is talking about the factory, it's not a car factory. Eh? The factory is the name of the studio in Mexico.
Yeah, the productions, the studios, they are called like this, the Factory, International Dubbing Factory, and Foro Macias is the other studio here in Mexico. Like Valeria start this conversation, we started in Mexico City with Sonomex Doblajes. It was the first studio in Mexico, and all over the years, this one is a name that we have in our roots, but it's Macias Group, and now with this new refresh MCS Next Generation.
I forgot about Sonomex. I heard this. This is bringing some memories.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Yes.
Coyoacán.
Yeah, exactly. This is great. So let's talk 2 minutes about, because we are doing this live event for the Dubbing Academy. So obviously you guys have your own physical academy, but there is also the Transperfect Dubbing Academy, which is an online course. And if obviously, I just remind everybody, if obviously you are not in Miami or Mexico to take advantage of this dubbing school that our friends are installing, well, there is also the Dubbing Academy that is an online course and that can be accessed from everywhere, basically. And let's do a segue with the concept of remote recording. I was three weeks ago, a month ago, I was in Vienna, and I gave a speech in a conference about remote recording. So because the concept of remote recording is really new. It's historically the dubbing has always been done in studios. Studio Next, the platform that we are using at Transperfect and for the Dubbing Academy, is one of them. And Valeria was talking about, finishing a product, and suddenly you have one line missing from the actors, and you cannot schedule the guy because he's somewhere else.
Yeah.
So remote recording is becoming more and more a good solution. Because you cannot do 100% in studio. There is always something missing. Is it correct?
I think it is correct. And I think one of the biggest things and one of the biggest parts that we really try to promote and make a priority when it comes to remote recording. I know you have thought about this with your platform and with all the technology, all the time and resources that you put into your platform, into, sending the kits and everything. I feel like that's so important because you're right. Anybody can record from home now. Anybody can do it from their closet or anything, but it's about having the right equipment, right? About having the right sound, the right quality, the right space to be able to do that recording.
Correct.
So for example, our studios, we are open to recording. And in particular, like I said, once COVID hit, we needed to find a way to really explore and push ourselves as a company to try and make things work when it was during that time. And afterwards, it took a long time for the COVID to phase out. But once it did, you're right. Nowadays, it's getting harder and harder to get everybody in studio all the time. And although we obviously preferred either remote or
Oh
either
yeah,
in
but
studio,
I think it's two different processes,
yes,
and we advocate at Transperfect the hybrid dubbing, which
yes,
is depending on it's the same thing as a car,
yeah,
you don't have a race car to go in the mountain, and so you adjust your tools if you want.
yes,
So
absolutely.
studio obviously has a lot of advantages. You are there, the director is there,
Yes.
you can take your time. But when you miss a line or when you have a project for the day after, well, remote recording is the solution.
Absolutely.
And I would say that the main thing in the remote recording is to ensure, and we had a question about that, the quality control and the consistency.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
So
if you have 10 actors recording in a studio, they all have
they're going to sound different. So the sound's going to exactly.
exactly.
And that was
So
actually points that
yes, go ahead.
interrupt you. That's one of the points that I was going towards. Usually for us, if we are going to have a talent that's recurring or that we know is remote talent or wants to do it that way, we obviously give them the opportunity to do so, but our studios like to vet them. So for example, our producer or our director will do testing, like they'll do let's do a remote test. Let's see, send me a picture of your setup. How are you set up in home? What equipment are you using? What microphones are you using? How is it going to sound? How am I going to be able to filter or clean that audio so that it sounds the closest and most similar to the actors that are in, because you don't want to have different, right?
Of
You want
course.
to like it's all very seamless. So that was the only thing that we require. We're very open to it, and of course we encourage, because now we know we need to do that in this ever-evolving industry that we're in, but we do have certain requests and certain, expectations when we do remote recordings. But when it comes to something like your platform, or when you send a very specific kit that that the kit that you're sending is exactly what they're going to need to record at home, and the people and actors make a space that really helps them get the best quality audio out of it,
Yeah.
then of course it's possible, and of course it
Yeah, and
works.
in the Dubbing Academy, especially, we have an entire chapter on how to prepare your environment,
Incredible.
which is when I was in Vienna talking about remote recording, I was in a big room with it was in the Austrian Parliament. It was a beautiful building, and I was in a conference room with big glasses behind me, and I was explaining to the audience, you see, this is not a good place to record, and I was giving the example of everybody likes to sing or to talk in their bathroom, because in the bathroom you have a lot of reverberation and your voice is sounding great. And I made everybody laugh, because I said, but don't do that if you want to do dubbing, because the poor mixer is not going to be
Yeah.
able to control anything. In the old days, we were saying we'll fix it at the mix. It's more complicated than that, in fact.
And it's a lot of work for our engineers, because they
Exactly.
have to fix all the post-production part. But it's super important to have a very good home studio if it's a recording session,
Yeah.
because if not, it's super difficult also. And of course, as Valeria told, in pandemia, we have to move forward in this
Absolutely. Yeah.
recording sessions, and we did have this project for theatrical, that it was super challenging, because we did have to record a lot of actors and in remote, and the result was incredible,
Yeah.
because it was a musical movie.
Ooh,
So
that's even more complicated.
uh-huh.
But I mean, I think it's fair to say that the technology is evolving very fast.
Very fast.
And really, I want to say to all the people there that you can find good microphone under $200 now, which was not the case even 15 years ago or 10 years ago. You had to put at least $1,000 in a microphone. Now you have good USB condenser microphone that you can use with the remote platform. And the quality, in fact, the quality is the same, because the recording specs is the same one, but it's the environment and the soundproofing of the room that makes a difference between a studio and a remote recording. So very interesting. So any projects for the future? What is going to happen in Miami? Are you planning on new languages? Because you have a lot of different communities in Miami. I know some people do French, some people do other languages. So what's your plan at Macias for Miami?
For Miami, I think for the foreseeable future, we will continue just strictly with English. I feel, because of what you said, we're still trying to perfect it. We're still trying to get grow in that. So I think that's what our main focus is on, at least here in Miami. And, obviously, more than anything, wanting to evolve and keep up with technology-based things, and how to best incorporate that into our workflows, how to best, use the new softwares to help us and, launch us on along with everybody in the industry, so that's where we're heading out most, like still with English dubbings primarily though.
Yes. And Gina, obviously, after all these years, we continue with Latin Spanish in Mexico.
Of course, we are. And
And Sao Paulo
fortunately,
for the Brazilian.
yes, for the Brazilian Portuguese, it has been another good thing in our business to have these three own studios working with these languages, and of course, looking forward to the future. What's next? What's next in this industry that we are very honored to be in, of course.
Absolutely. A last thing I wanted to check with you is the difference between the unions, because obviously Mexico being a historical market, I remember very well you have a lot of you have unions of actors in Mexico, but what about Miami? How is it organized there?
It's a little bit different than it is in California. And I mean, first and foremost, we would like to recognize that the unions in the respective countries in the US and in Mexico, they really do serve an important purpose for the actors. And, you know, we really recognize and we respect that. As for us, our company, you know, we've always been very supportive and pro-actors first and foremost, whether or not they work with unions. We welcome everyone to work with us, doesn't matter where they, like, what side they lie on. And we just try our best to compensate them and you know, give them all the benefits that, you know, they could, whether or not they are in the unions. So
Yeah.
again, we work with
Yeah.
everyone. Whoever wants
I think
that's our-
this is
that's
yeah,
our
this is very important to explain to all our friends online that the union is a little bit like a family to help them in different situations and guarantee some rights. So are you saying that the unions in Florida and the unions are in California are different? I don't remember very well.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so.
For example, I'm not maybe as well versed as the ones in California, but for example, my brother is, he's an actor. So he's, of course, he's a part of the union. You know, he really educates me and a lot of those things. And, you know, there is room and there's enough work for both sides of the spectrum, both actors and, you know, studios. I just feel as long as you're able and willing to work with everybody, you'll be okay.
This is great. Well, we are clocking at 47 minutes. It was like a 5 minutes conversation.
Yes. It's never enough time with you, Jack.
It's always super nice to see you, Jack.
Thank you very
We
much.
Yes, and we are very honored that you invited
Of
us to this
course.
with this friendly conversation.
Absolutely.
Because we really recognize you as the big figure in the industry.
Don't push too much, you know. But thank you for that. Valeria, Gina, thank you very much, guys. Please say hi to the rest of the family for me.
I will.
And
Please.
same thing. So this was episode number 17, and this is the last live event for 2024. So we'll do another one in 2025. And,
Absolutely.
And
Just let
Mr.
us know.
Mr. Mar, your cousin is asking me what's my secret to look so young, because I'm still working and should be retired by now.
Yes, and you're a very nice figure in this industry.
Thank you.
I just want to add something for all our friends that are looking to us, that I was looking at you in this last market at MIPCOM. Everyone, Jack is famous.
Well, that's the advantage of the age, you know. Now I know a lot of people. So thank you very much, guys. It has been a pleasure, and talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.